One important feature of Premiere Pro is that you can customize your workspace to suit your purposes. So I'm going to explain how to do that in this lesson. So let's go to Working Files, open that up, open up Projects, and open up 0305 Customizing. This is just a basic project with a few assets and a couple of sequences. I just want to set this up so you can just see how things look as you go through the customizing of the workspace. Before we do any customizing, let me just show you something about the workspace. This is a workspace that was created by the Adobe engineers to suit editing, to be a typical workspace that you do when you want to just do some basic editing. But there's some other workspaces that you might want to work with if you do something else besides editing. For instance, color correction. So the Adobe engineers came up with an arrangement of these panels that work best with color correction. And to find that other workspace, plus some other workspaces in addition to that, go to Window, Workspace. And here are the workspaces that the engineers created that will better facilitate the kind of editing you want to do when you do color correction, for example, or audio editing, or effects editing, or meta logging. So if I go click color correction, that changes the arrangement of the panels into one that is more suited to color correction. It brings up the reference monitor, a third monitor. There's source, program, and reference. And it has the effect controls panel here really, really big because the kind of effects you work with here inside color correction typically are large. They're just physically large effects. If I go to effects, for example, and go to video effects, color correction, and choose the three-way color corrector, which is really the granddaddy of all color correctors, and apply it to this clip and take a look at it here in the effect controls panel, you can see there's a lot going on here. In fact, I got to scroll down to see it all. And if I open up these disclosure triangles, it gets even bigger. So yeah, you want all this space here for the effects. And then you want to have the reference monitor over here so that you can use the scopes to help you in your color correction decisions. So this is really a nice arrangement of panels. You brought in a panel that you wouldn't normally work with and kind of expanded things to suit your purposes. Nice thing. There are a couple other presets too. Go to Window, Workspace. We're going to go to Effects. And effects is a similar kind of thing. It puts the effects over here like that and puts the effect controls front and center and doesn't even show you the source monitor because you're going to work on effects only inside the program monitor. So basically it's using real estate effectively here. Let's look at one more here. Go to Window, Workspace, Audio. If you go to Audio, you think, okay, where's the audio control? Well, you just need to go get it. It's over here at the top and there's your audio mixer. So the audio mixer there is front and center if you do click on the tab, and you would likely use the mixer as you do your audio editing. If you work with Premiere Pro CS5, you might find this new workspace available here inside Premiere Pro CS6 to be a little disconcerting. It might not be used to the idea of having a 2-up display, and you might feel more comfortable working in the old CS 5.5 layout. So you can go Window, Workspace, CS 5.5 editing. And here's the way it used to look in CS 5.5 with the project panel up here in the upper left-hand corner and the media browser down here, and the timeline here where it is in CS6. And there are the two monitors, but they take up less real estate here inside the 5.5 version. But I do like the 2-up versions. So I'll go to Window, Workspace, and go to Editing. Back to the one that comes with CS6. So those are most of the presets. And presets are just things that are arranged by Adobe engineers and then saved as a preset. But you can create your own workspace and save it as well. And the way you do that is just by rearranging panels. The first way you can rearrange panels is simply by moving them around, making them larger or smaller. You can drag them left and right like this. Just hover your cursor between the two. You get that little set of parallel lines and arrows there. You can lift them up and down as well, like so. If you put your cursor at an intersection like this, it turns into a four-headed cursor, like so, 4 arrows, and you can move all those panels around at the same time. So you can manipulate the size of panels like this. If you manipulate them a lot, and you're going, oh my gosh, I just messed this thing up terribly, you can revert back to the previous preset. So I go Window, Workspace, and Reset Current Workspace, like so. And it'll go back to that after I say yes. There we go. So just changing the size is one thing. You might want to make something go full screen. So if you hover your cursor over any panel, just have it sitting there. You don't need to press the mouse button. And then you press down the accent or tilde key. That's the key in the far upper left-hand corner of your keyboard. When you press that and the mouse is just over a panel, it goes to full screen like so, which is great. If you want to watch your video as you're producing it, you get a really full screen view of your video this way. And when you're done and you want to go back to the regular view, you just press that tilde accent key again and you go back like so. You can also create what are called floating panels. You might want to just have it be a little bit larger than the rest of the panels while you're still working in the timeline, for example. So you can grab what's called the gripper. Right there in the upper left-hand corner of every panel is a little set of parallel dots, 2 lines of dots and parallel lines. And if you grab on that and pull it out, you'll see that you get these rectangles or trapezoids. But if you hold down the Control or the Command key, Control in Windows, Command in Mac, it stops, it turns off those little trapezoids, making a floating panel instead. And then you let go of the mouse button, let go of the Control or Command key, and there it sits as a floating panel, which you can then adjust in terms of size. And then you can work on the timeline still. You can still play the timeline here, or click on the play button here like that. So if you want to get a floating panel, you click on the gripper and hold on the Control or the Command key and drag it out. But now that I've done it, oh my gosh, how do I get it back in place again? Well, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I'm going to fall back to the easy way of doing things by going Window, Workspace, reset the current workspace, and we're back to where we started. Good thing, right? There are other things you can do to customize your workspace. You can put a panel inside another group of panels. So for example, I've got the project panel here, and I want to click on the gripper and drag it around. Now, in fact, the gripper is the entire tab. So I click on the tab here and move it around just as if I grabbed that little gripper, that little dot in the corner there. As I move it around, notice that we've got these purple boxes. You've got trapezoids and rectangles. And if you go to the edge of the workspace, you've got these green rectangles here along the left-hand and right-hand sides, and the top and the bottom like so. And those highlighted areas show where you are going to place this panel once you let go of the mouse button. So with the rectangle here, that means I'm going to put it inside this frame, inside this group. So I let go, and now the project panel has been added to that group. I now have 5 panels inside that group instead of 4 as I had before. If I grab the gripper again, just the whole tab there, and move it around to the trapezoid here, I'm going to add it between that group of 4 panels and create a whole new frame for this guy all by itself there. If I want to get rid of a panel, it's quite simple. I can just click on the X here on the tab. So for metadata, for example, I click on the X and it's gone. Now it's just 3 panels here inside that frame. If I want to bring metadata back, it's quite simple. I go Window, Metadata, and it comes back. And generally they come back to wherever they just left. So they usually will pop back into the frame. But if I go Window, Reference Monitor, it's a floating monitor when it comes on the screen. It does not go inside a frame, but you can put it in a frame. Let's take the gripper here. Now, right now I'd like to grab the tab, but the tab has this drop-down list, so I can't really grab the tab here. I've got to grab the gripper. Go over here and I'm going to add it to this little panel where the project panel is. There you go. Now it's inside that frame along with the project panel. That's how you bring that around. If I want to get rid of the Tools panel or the Audio Meters panel, you see there's no X there, so I right-click on those little lines. And I can say Close Panel or Close Frame. If I close the panel, that gets rid of the panel, but the panel is the frame. It's just one panel. So I click on Panel, and it's gone. And if I right-click on this one and close the frame, it too will go away. But again, we can bring them back by going Window, and then we've got the audio meters here or the tools here. But I'm going to leave them off for the time being. And let's just say I like what I've done here. This is a customized workspace that I want to see again and again. So I can save this workspace. I go Window, Workspace, and say New Workspace. And I can give it a name like Jeff's Workspace. There you go, click OK. So now this is forever Jeff's Workspace. And if I go back to, let's say, color correction, for example, here we go. And I want to go back to my workspace with those missing panels. Go Window, Workspace, Jeff's Workspace, and we're back. And at some point, if I want to change this, let's say I want to bring those Tools panels back. I go Window, Tools. I like those guys. I want it back. And I also want the audio meters back. So I go Window, Audio Meters. There we go. And I can say, let's save this one. So I go Window, Workspace, New Workspace, and I say Jeff's Workspace. Exact same name. And I click OK, and I get this message. It's already there. And it's like, it's okay. I want to replace it. So I'm going to replace that guy. So now that is the new workspace. I go Window, Workspace. I'll switch over to, let's say, Audio. And I'll come back to mine again. And you'll see that those 2 new panels are back. Both the Tools panel and the Audio Meters panel. So that's how you save a workspace. If you want to delete a workspace, you have to get out of the workspace you're in to delete it. So I go back to Window, Workspace, and go over to Editing. And then whatever condition I left editing in, it'll be in that condition. But you can have it reset to the original version of editing by going Window, Workspace, and then Reset Current Workspace. Yep. And now it goes back to the original 2-up display. But if I want to get rid of the custom workspace, I can now do that. So I go Window, Workspace. And I'm going to get rid of Jeff's because it's currently not selected. I'll say Delete Workspace. And it'll be in this drop-down menu there as something you can get rid of. It would not have been there had we been in that workspace when we wanted to delete it. So I click that and I click OK, and now, oh my gosh, Jeff's workspace is all gone now. But of course, we can always make a new one. So that, folks, is how you customize a workspace. So you always have your personal workspace available to you if you want to go to it. And remember, if you're inside a workspace and you want to revert to one of the presets, all you got to do is go to Windows, Workspace, and select one of these presets here.